And thank you all for coming out here. It's starting to get a little chillier, actually. This feels like the first day of actual fall thus far. So thank you all for coming out tonight. It means a lot. I'm not surprised to get a big turnout in Brunswick, but maybe not for the reason you expect. Joshua Chamberlain spent a lot of time living here, and while being most certainly a Maine hero, he was my childhood hero. And so it's not surprising that Brunswick, with that connection, I feel very honored to have all of you come here tonight. It means a lot.
Yeah!
So as of tonight, we've now held 4 more town halls than Susan Collins has in 25 years. I think we have about 20 to go over the next 3 to 4 weeks, but this is number 4. The turnouts have been fantastic. It's hard for me to describe, frankly, how this feels to me personally. It's all very surreal. The support, it buoys my energy. It buoys my dedication to this project. And it needs to, because I'll be honest, like I really am, I do not see myself as a politician. This is not something that was an aspiration of mine. I didn't wake up one day and decide that I should just go be a United States Senator. I'm born and raised in Sullivan. I left after high school. I joined the Marine Corps. Joined the infantry. I did 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan between the Marine Corps and then the Army. After a brief stint working for the State Department, I wound up back in Sullivan, Maine, where I jumped into oyster farming. And I see a lot of good familiar faces from the aquaculture world here tonight. So let's just give a round of applause for all the bivalve aquaculturists in the great state of Maine. But until very recently, I really thought that harbor master was going to be the extent of my political career. So all of this is, this amount of people do not come to listen to the harbor master of Sullivan, Maine talk. I'll just say that. But I grew up in eastern Maine, piecing it together, and have always felt that we in Maine have a dedication to hard work. We have a dedication to this kind of hardscrabble life that many of us have built. My mother always had a saying, there's a point in your life when you choose to live in Maine, and after that you figure it out. And I think that's pretty true. I was introduced, my mom's family's been here since the early 1800s, and when you look back through history at the work that her people did, working on the railroads, in fishing, logging, these are jobs that are incredibly difficult. And most Mainers understand that kind of commitment to hard work. It is very much ingrained in how we view ourselves. It's ingrained in how we view our communities. All of us take pride in the hard work that we do. But recently, it's really beginning to feel like that kind of hard work is no longer paying off. And it's not that Mainers aren't working as hard as they used to. The idea that we can't afford health care, we can't afford housing, the idea that we can't afford those things because of something we're doing wrong is laughable. Yes. Mainers work incredibly hard. And it used to be enough, but it isn't anymore. Hard work used to pay off in this state. I know guys that put their kids through college as clam diggers. You cannot do that anymore. I know people who are self-employed and worked on lobster boats in the summer, did reeds in the wintertime, and that was enough. That was enough to be able to have a family, to keep a roof over your head, to own your own home. That doesn't exist anymore. That hard work is not enough to keep our hospitals from closing. It's not enough to protect our working waterfront, to keep the electric bill from skyrocketing. It's not enough to afford health care, to send our kids to good schools, to be guaranteed a living wage, to afford groceries, or to afford a home. People my age and younger are being driven out of this state by an affordability crisis. How many people here are below the age of 40? How many of you think home ownership is in the near future for you? I ask this question everywhere we go. It's always the same. Housing in this state has become entirely unaffordable for young people. That is not because young people in Maine are not working hard. It is because we live in a system that is not giving them the chance. Yes. Now, those of us who've been lucky, those of us who've been able to build good lives, myself included, even for us, the American dream has become unaffordable. My wife Amy and I, who I cannot do this without, we want to have children, but we've been coming face to face with the brutal realities of how costly being a parent has become. My brother and his wife live in Portland. They have 2 children, my niece and nephew. They both work full-time jobs so they can afford health care, so they can afford child care, so they can work full-time jobs. That is a ridiculous setup. Nobody should have to spend all their time away from their family just to make enough money to afford being away from their family. The thing is that everyone in Maine knows in their bones that the system is screwing them. And they know it because they can see it daily, materially in our lives, in our healthcare system, in our housing system, in our childcare, and the inability to get it. We all know that we live in a system that is built to rob us. And we know it because as we look at that system, we also see a small amount of people in our society accruing wealth and power in a way that is essentially incomprehensible. And we look at that and we wonder, why can we all not share in that success? Now, I grew up in rural Maine, and I did 4 tours in the infantry, and so I am not afraid to name the enemy. And the enemy is the oligarchy. It's the corporate interests, the billionaires, the DC elites, and the establishment politicians that serve them. That is who is screwing us. And we need to start being honest about it. Whoa! But we need to be clear, we do not live in a broken system. We live in a system that is functioning exactly as intended. A system that has been built by the political class to support billionaires and corporations on the backs of working people. Politicians have made a series of policy decisions, primarily over the past 40 years, that have resulted directly in the world that we live in today. Their choices have left many of us with very little, while very few accrue vast amounts of wealth. In 1990, there were fewer than 100 billionaires in the United States. Today, there are over 800. Boo! When you look around, do you see a society and a community that is 8 times wealthier than the one we had in 1990? No. That money went somewhere, and we all know where it went. It all went to corporate interests, to Wall Street, to tech companies, to big banks. Everybody knows this. And we have the ability to get it back.
Yeah.
The world that we live in, our political world, our economic world, it is not organic. None of this is natural. It does not have to be this way. We live in the outcomes of specific policies. But to me, that gives us hope. Because it means that if policy decisions got us here, they can get us out of here.
Yeah.
But the shameful truth of all of this is the blame cannot simply be left at the feet of one political party. We have two parties in this country that want the votes and support of working people, but they haven't done very much recently to deserve it. No one is owed your allegiance. Loyalty should not go up, it should go down. Support needs to be earned. And the Democratic Party, at the national level especially, does not deserve that support as long as they are part of the same corporate apparatus that the Republican Party is. And we need to change it. We need to be the ones to do it, though. No one is coming down to save us to do this. If we believe that the Democratic Party needs to be the party of working people, it is us working people that are going to have to retake it from the ground up. Now, Susan Collins' charade is wearing thin. This is the easy parts. Nobody cares that you pretend to be remorseful while you sell out to lobbyists, to corporations, and to a president who are engineering the greatest redistribution of wealth from the working class to the ruling class in the history of this country. Symbolic opposition does not reopen hospitals. Concern does not bring back Roe v. Wade.
That's right.
Selling out the working class voters of this state is unforgivable. Enabling the destruction of our way of life is disqualifying from the role of United States Senator. Maine deserves better than Susan Collins. But Maine also deserves an alternative who is not at risk of being mistaken as being beholden to the same status quo that she is. So unlike Susan Collins, I'm going to tell you exactly where I stand and what I'm going to fight for in D.C. I will fight to protect and expand the Social Security that Mainers have earned. I'm going to fight to lower the cost of groceries, childcare, medications, and I will take on corporate greed and price gouging that drives up the prices of everything that we need to survive.
Right. Yeah! Yeah!
I will fight to protect the rights of women to make decisions over their own bodies. Because the right to do so needs to be enshrined in law. I will fight to fully fund our schools and our hospitals, because that is where our taxpayer dollars should be going, not bombing them in Gaza. I will fight to raise the federal minimum wage, because we have paid for 3 foreign wars since the last time that we raised it. And I had to fight in 2 of them. I will fight to expand the rights of working people, and to make sure that every single person in this country has the right to join a union. I will stand in the way of the fascistic attacks on our democracy and ensure that every single American has the right to cast a vote. But there are 2 things that I want to talk about a little bit more in depth, and that is housing and healthcare. As I mentioned, the price of housing in this state is driving young people out. Nobody I know, my age or younger, can afford to buy a house. I bought my house in 2017, and had I not done that, I would not be able to afford it today. But even more so, the reason I got to buy my house, the reason I get to pay my mortgage, is because I get support from the VA. Because I have the lucky distinction of having done 4 combat tours and being a disabled veteran. And that's a wild statement to make. But it is why I get to own my home, and it is why I get good health care. Health care that has allowed me the freedom to start a business and turn it into a successful small oyster farm. I could not have done that without the foundational support that I get from the VA. And I am incredibly grateful for this support, because it changed my life. It is what allowed me to move back to Sullivan and build the life I have today. Mine is a story of what is possible when our government gives people a little bit of help when they need it. But you should not have to fight in stupid foreign wars and watch your friends die to get that kind of support. We live in a system, we live in a society that has enough wealth and enough resources to provide what I get to every single American. This is at the core of why I am running. The reason I am doing this is I have seen, I have lived what support can do for a person. Doesn't make somebody lazy. It doesn't make them not want to work. It gives them the ability to take risks, and it gives them the ability to actually follow their dreams and do what they want to do. And when people do that, they build things. They create things. I often think about what Eastern Maine would look like if every hard-working person I knew just had health care. What would they be able to do? What would they be able to build? What are the businesses we would see? What is the art we would see created? We would live in a different world, and we have the ability to do that. And I firmly believe that we can build a better system and a better politics in this country. But I also believe that a politics that is willing to sell anyone out will eventually sell everyone out. This is why we must stand in the way of those attacking the right of women to make choices about their own bodies, and the rights of the LGBTQ community to have the same liberties and protections as everyone else. I believe that input from working people is far more important than input from those who simply have money. I believe that someone that works 2 or 3 jobs to keep a roof over their heads deserves as much face time with the senator as a hedge fund manager. I believe that a union should have more power with the senator than a CEO. I also believe that the reason we are in the straits we are today is because the opposite of that has happened. We have a politics that does not represent the people of this country. But it does not have to be that way. But nobody is coming down from on high to save us. We are the answer to our struggles. We, all of us here, the people of Maine, mobilized and organized. That is where we are going to find our solutions. And we have legacies in this country that show us the way forward. We have the legacy of the labor movement. We have the legacy of the suffragette movement, of the civil rights movement. These are not legacies of asking permission. We did not get an 8-hour workday and a 40-hour work week because somebody wrote a nice letter to their congressman. We got it because working people organized and fought for it. We did not get the Civil Rights Act just because LBJ wanted it to happen. We got it because decades and decades of work went in by activists and organizers across the country to build power, to put pressure on the structures, to make sure that we moved a little bit further down the road toward justice and equality for all. But we got these things, and I believe this. I believe that every single good thing we have gotten in the history of this country did not come from on high. It came from people organizing and fighting for what they needed. That is the legacy that we need to re-engage with as Americans. Because until we do, until we rely on those in power to do the right thing, we are going to be constantly screwed over again and again and again. The reason I am holding these town halls, it's not just a campaign. It's not really in the service of this campaign project. I'm holding them because I want to bring this message around the state. We as Mainers have an immense amount of power, but we only have it if we organize in our communities and our workplaces and we build that power together. I'm also holding them because in order to represent working Mainers, you have to go to working Mainers communities and listen to them. Now, Susan Collins hasn't held a town hall since Bill Clinton was president. And I gotta say, as a guy that works hard, I don't have time or the ability to go buy a fancy plate at a fundraiser in Portland or drive to a Senate office for some kind of predetermined meeting. If I want FaceTime with my senator's gonna have to go to Ellsworth, Maine and listen to me complain. And so that's the first thing we did. The first thing we did is held a town hall in Ellsworth, Maine. You cannot represent working people in the state and not go to their communities and be open to discussion with them. It is impossible. And so not only are we going to continue to do this on the campaign trail, but I promise you that when in office, we will continue to hold town halls throughout my term. But tonight, I'm not just asking you to vote for me. I have to ask for a lot more. Yes, I'm going to ask you to give me money. I'll do that later. What I'm really asking you to do is to show up. I'm going to ask you to put in your time, to put in your labor, to put in your energy, to come out, to go to events, to knock on doors, to do the hard work, to do what is uncomfortable, and that is to talk to your neighbors. Those of you in the crowd who have organized before know that this is difficult on a fundamental level. Building community, building connection, it is extremely hard. In the society we live in today, where we are often alienated from other people, it is difficult to get out of your comfort zone, but we have to. It is the only way for us to build the communities and the power we need to go fight for the things that we deserve.
Yeah.
Because it is together that we are going to be able to write a new story that leads us out of this troubling chapter in American history. But when we have succeeded, when we have beaten back fascism, when we have defended our democracy, our country, and our freedom, let it be a different kind of freedom. Not merely a romantic freedom. Not a freedom that is solely about the defense of our rights, but a freedom that is real, that is material. A freedom to not be condemned to scraps and to struggle, but to live with dignity and fulfillment. The freedom to not be ripped off by a for-profit healthcare system. The freedom to have a roof over our heads that we own. And the freedom to have time to build, to create, to love, and to live lives not just of survival, but of fulfillment and of joy. That is the vision. This is the opportunity before us. We will win the primary. We will win the general. And we will show this whole country the way forward, because as goes Maine, so goes the nation. Thank you very much.